The Hamilton mixtape experience. First off, I haven't seen it yet either. And that has been really fortunate to be around a lot of the people who were a part of it, and obviously a part of the mixtape. But I still haven't seen it, even though it's come out on Disney. When it came out on Disney, I still haven't watched it yet. I know. I feel like the biggest like kind of the biggest kind of faker in the world in the sense of, I'll promote things about it and talk about it, but I still haven't seen it yet. And I plan on watching it, even though I say that all the time. But the mixtape happened kind of on accident. It kind of happened in the way that a lot of things happen, being in this band. It was before I joined the Roots. And Amir invited me to come out and be a part of their record making process. Probably like 2 or 3 weeks before that, I was doing a gig with them. It was the first gig I did with them which is now the only time they've done a Roots picnic in New York. And during one of the rehearsals, he was like, listen, man, we're working on this record. You have time to come out. You come back out to New York, and we're gonna shut down Electric Lady for a couple of weeks and just kind of work on some ideas. And I was like, yeah, so I came back out, and while I was kind of hunkered down in the B room and, just kind of throwing out ideas back there. And while I was there, J.Period showed up and Amir commissioned him to do the mixtape. And so you had all this stuff going on in the studio at the same time, and everybody was there. Brother Ninth Wonder was there, Kareem Riggins was there, the internet was there, like, Islam Remy, like it was, every room was full, and J.Period was somewhere hunkered down on his laptop putting together this mixtape. And so he literally tapped you on the shoulder like one day in the studio. He came in the room. He was like, "Listen, you think you can throw together an idea for this? I had this idea for this little interlude section or whatever." And I literally sat there for about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, and and planned out the drums and kind of worked with a sample that he had and whatever, and gave it back to him. He was like, cool. And, I didn't think anything of it. So, when I heard the finished product and I heard that, not only that it made the cut, but knowing that, how well it sounded when, at the end of it, some of me wasn't really surprised. J.Period is, he's a mixtape expert, so it's like there was no lack of confidence in the fact that it was going to be a dope project. I was, however, really surprised that particular thing didn't make the cut, and how well it kind of came out, considering that it was something that I kind of did on the fly, you know what I mean? But obviously, in honor, I've had the pleasure of, being around Lin-Manuel Miranda a couple times, and we've done some stuff in studio and on Fallon, of course, a couple times, and just a really, really cool dude and a really creative dude as well. So, it makes, perfect sense that, something from such a creative mind spawns so many other creative ideas. I think as far as dream collabs or dream projects, it's funny. Like I actually did recently get tapped to do a couple projects. I feel like at least one of them I could speak of. I think every person who's dug for vinyl is familiar with the KPM label. And they reached out, and I did a collaborative project with them where they kind of opened up the vaults and let me utilize a lot of stuff. So that'll be out soon. And there's one other one. I don't know if I can speak about it or not, but it involves the Godfather of Soul. And so I'm really excited to be able to collaborate, because people who know my catalog know I've dabbled in a couple of his songs before. And so being able to sort of be giving the green light to be able to use, not only more, but, or multiple like tracks and be able to kind of do what I want to do with them is really exciting. So look out for that as well. But as far as dream collabs, I don't know. I think I'm a person that doesn't try to think about too much or try to force things too much, or, just because I feel like the best things that I've done or the best collaborations that I've had have been things that have happened the most naturally, where it's just sort of like, he's in the room, I'm in the room, or, we have mutual friends that was working with such and such, and and it just kind of pops off that way. That's kind of the way, I started collaborating with Yebba and a couple other people I know. Even, the way that I joined this particular band kind of happened organically in a sense that, mutual people in the band and James Poyser and Amir, they both have a relationship with Jeff, and they were down at Jeff's when I happened to be down there. So I like that. I like the idea of kind of an organic kind of creative process. But I don't know. There's so many people I'm a fan of nowadays. I know I'm going to stumble off top. But everyone wants to work with a Kendrick Lamar. Everybody wants to work with the J. Coles and said rappers of the world. But there's a lot of singers and a lot of vocalists that I would love to work with as well. And I can't even at the moment start to even name that list. But I think as long as it's something that can happen sort of organically, I'll always be welcome to it and always be happy, with whatever might come out. So, I'll say this. I'll keep one really lighthearted and really kind of short. I'm really great at the community musicians that I have now. A lot of brotherships have been formed and whatnot. But for the longest, and it's great, social media is amazing because of the people you can connect with. But a lot of people assumed, and Amir, Questlove specifically assumed that he showed up to the playlist retreat on the first day, and he assumed that 14KT, Tall Black Guy, and myself not only all knew each other, but lived in one house together and all had this sole purpose of making beats on a daily basis to rule the world, which is his words, And the retreat was actually the first time that I physically met Tall Black Guy. I walked into the studio and there was a guy digging through records, and he stands up, and I was like, oh, there's a black guy who's kind of tall. That must be Tall Black Guy. You know what I mean? And kind of a similar thing. The thing that was crazy about 14KT is 14KT actually moved on my block, a good maybe 6 months before I left LA. So it was really crazy, hearing about this guy and whatever and blah, blah, blah. We had a lot of mutual friends. And then when we finally connected, he was like, yeah, we should hook up, in LA. And he was like, here's my address. And he sent me his address. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, yo, I can walk to your crib. How crazy is this? So the Amir situation, the Questlove situation was really funny that he assumed that we all lived together. And then, ultimately ended up being in a situation where, I ended up being not only in close proximity to 14KT, but became really good dudes with Tall Black Guy. So I guess he was more. It was less about that he was well, but he was more of a prophet, I guess.